With Dot soon to be meta again and the Kafka rerun drawing near in 3.5, today I am here with a full build guide for the newly buffed Kafka. This video all includes information for her post buff, so the new sets you want to run on her, the new Lightcones, her updated kit. So if you are someone looking on how to actually build her after her buff, you are in the right place. I also will have a build guide for every single new and returning character in 3.5. Already have one for Hycelenes. You are now watching Kafka, soon one for Ceridra and also Silverwolf. Kafka's basic attack deals lightning damage based off her attack to one designated enemy. Her skill deals lightning damage to one enemy based off her attack, and also lightning damage equal to 60% of her attack to adjacent targets. If the designated enemy and or adjacent targets are currently inflicted with dot stacks, all the dots currently placed on those enemies will immediately produce damage equal to 75% or 50% of the original damage. Her ultimate deals lightning damage equal to 80% of her attack to all enemies with a 100% base chance for the enemy's hit to become shocked and immediately take damage from their current dot debuffs, equal to 120% of the original damage. Shock lasts for 2 turns, and while shocked, enemy targets receive lightning dot equal to 290% of Kafka's attack at the beginning of each turn. Her talent gives Kafka access to a follow-up attack that will proc whenever an ally attacks an enemy target, where she deals lightning damage equal to 140% of her attack to the primary target with a 100% base chance to inflict shock equivalent to the 1 from her ultimate on the attack enemy for 2 turns, can trigger up to 2 times, and 1 is regained at the end of her turn. Her technique immediately attacks every enemy within a set range. Entering combat with the technique will let her deal lightning damage equal to 50% of her attack to all enemies with a 100% base chance to inflict shock, equivalent to the 1 applied by her ultimate on every target for 2 turns. Her A2 will increase her allies' attack by 100% if they do have 75% or higher effect hit rate. Her A4 gives her 5 energy when any enemy target is defeated while shocked. And her A6 will give her another trigger charge for her talent follow-up attack when using ultimate. And now the talent's follow-up attack can also cause all dot debuffs currently placed on the target to produce damage equal to 80% of the original damage. Her E1 has a 100% base chance to increase the dot taken by the target by 30% for 2 turns when using an attack. Her E2 will increase dot dealt by all your allies by 33% while she is on the field. Her E4 will let her additionally regenerate 2 energy whenever an enemy target takes damage from a shock status that is inflicted by Kafka. And her E6 will increase the shock state multiplier inflicted onto the enemy target by her ultimate technique or talent's follow-up attack by 156% and will also last for 1 turn longer. When looking at what Lightcone to use on buffed Kafka, she has actually changed to where her signature option is no longer her best, and she does have slightly better options to use instead. One of them is going to be Cypher's signature Lightcone, which does increase the wearer's speed by 18%. After the wearer uses an attack, there is a 120% base chance to inflict the bamboozle state on every enemy target that is hit. While under that state, enemy targets have a 16% defense decrease for 2 turns. If the wearer speed is higher than or equal to 170, there is a 120% base chance to inflict the theft state on every enemy target. And while they're under that state, they have their defense additionally lowered by an extra 8% for 2 turns. When bamboozle or theft is repeatedly inflicted, only the most recent inflicted instance takes effect. Kafka's new role on the dot team is being both a budget harmony character for your other dot characters and also being the one to mainly just proc the dots, not really to do the damage herself anymore. So the goal is to really just build her as fast as possible and have her have as many ways to buff your other characters' dots as much as possible, and this Lightcone does that very well. With a big 18% increase to the wearer's speed, which speed percentage buffs are based off base speed, and Kafka does have a good base speed to where this is really good. Defense shred is really good with dot characters, so the extra 16% you are getting is going to be great for everyone on the team. And if you are able to reach 170 speed or higher, which ideally you want to do when running this Lightcone, you get an additional 8%, giving you up to a total of 24% defense shred, which is going to be very good for everyone's damage and the dot damage itself. So this is one of the best Lightcones for the newly buffed Kafka. Another insanely good one is Xiaochu's signature Lightcone, which provides an increase to the wearer's effect hit rate by 60%. After the wearer uses a basic attack, skill, or ultimate to attack an enemy target, there's a 60% chance to inflict unarmored on the target. While in that state, the enemy target will receive 10% increased damage for 2 turns. If the target is under the dot state inflicted by the wearer, there is a 60% base chance to upgrade that state to the cornered state, which additionally increases the damage that the enemy target receives by 14% for 2 turns. During this period, the wearer cannot inflict unarmored on the target. Running this Lightcone does provide you a lot of effect hit rate and actually lets you run a attack percent body over an effect hit rate one a lot easier, as this is a very big increase to effect hit rate, which is great for her own personal debuffs, and can also let her get the attack percent buff from her own kit a lot easier. And it does have supportive capabilities, making the enemies take up to a total of 24% increased damage as well, which, just like Cypress Lightcone, is going to be great for everyone else's damage on the team. So it is yet another great Lightcone for not only making her easier to build, but also supporting your team in making them do more damage, which still does include her as well. A Lightcone that you do have to look out to use a little more is going to be the Tutorial Lightcone, which does provide the wearer a 20% increase to effect hit rate and also 4 energy when attacking a defense reduced enemy, and at S5 it is 40% with 8 energy. The reason I say look out is because Kafka herself does not reduce the target's defense, so you have to run someone else on the team that does. Her best teammate Hycelene's is coming up and she does lower the enemy target's defense, so that is going to be something to look out for. And if you're not going to get her, or maybe you're unsure if you can get her, but you'll try, you can also use Black Swan, because Black Swan's skill also does lower defense. If you have neither of these for whatever case you're running, you can slap on the Pearls Lightcone on someone else, because that also does lower defense, which still will proc this effect. The reason this Lightcone is really good is because the 40% effect hit rate, once again, just like Shadow's Lightcone, makes her easier to build. And one of her new roles is to get ult as fast as possible, because the more ult you can get, the faster you can use it to proc the dots on the enemy targets, which is going to be the biggest damage you can get in a hit during a run, as it does immediately proc all the dots on enemies to 120% of the original value. So this Lightcone giving you 8 energy makes it extremely easy to cycle your ultimate more fast, which is why it is another fantastic option. You still can very much use her own signature Lightcone, which does increase the damage dealt by the wearer by 24%. After every attack launched by the wearer, they get a 4.8% increase to speed, stacking up to 3 times. And also gives access to another dot, which is pretty much the same as the shock state, but a little worse, being the erode state, where they can receive a lightning dot at the start of each turn equal to 60% of the wearer's attack for 1 turn. This does focus a bit more on her personal damage, which you really don't want to do anymore, but it's not saying this Lightcone isn't usable, it's still fine. 24% increase the damage dealt will increase the damage she does overall. The speed increase is still very nice, giving you up to a 14.4% speed buff when you are having this fully stacked. So that can let you act more in battle, get more turns because you are being built faster. And it also gives you access to another dot that will make you do more damage when you are proccing it via her or the upcoming character Hycelene's. So everything this Lightcone provides is still very good, it's just not as good as the other options I mentioned anymore, as Kafka's role more now is to be the supporter slash the procker, so to act as much as possible, but not for her own damage. Another Lightcone you can use is the newer Battle Pass Lightcone, which increases the wearer's damage dealt by 16%. After the wearer attacks, there is a 100% base chance to inflict the attacked enemy with vulnerability, increasing the damage they receive by 10% for 2 turns, and effects of the same type cannot stack. And at S5, it is a 32% increase to damage dealt increase and a 16% vulnerability. A lot worse than the other options because it mainly does focus on the big increase you are getting at damage dealt, so it does amplify her personal damage. It does at least have vulnerability, so you can make enemies take more damage, which is going to be good for her role. So very simple Lightcone, which gives you free, very easy to apply effects. First one is just a stat stick, technically with damage dealt, and then the second one, you just attack the enemy and they take more damage. And just to make it easier to build, if you have none of those options, you can use Eyes of the Prey, which provides 20% effect hit rate and 24% increase to dot. S5, it is a 40% increase to effect hit rate with 48% increase to dot. The only time I would ever use this Lightcone is if you already have tutorial mission on someone else on that team, or tutorial mission is just being held up by someone else, because you very much might as well just run tutorial on her because it's the same effect hit rate increase. Again, the dot she deals is not really going to be the focus anymore, it's mainly just her proccing the dots that everyone else applies. So the extra dot increase is still, I guess nice for her personal damage, but not something you really want to focus on. So it's mainly for the stat stick to affect hit rate, which tutorial mission also does the same effect, but has a better second effect with her with the energy. So the only time I would use this is if you have none of the other options and tutorial is being occupied. The new best in slot relic set for Kafka is going to be the Eagle set. 2-piece is useless, she doesn't do wind damage. The 4-piece will give her a 25% advance forward when she uses her ultimate. This just lets you act quicker, potentially letting you hit more thresholds to have another turn in a cycle. As I mentioned, Kafka is a character you want to act as much as possible, not for her doing more damage, but to proc dots more. This relic set gives you a 25% advance forward when you are using your ultimate, meaning you can act quicker or you can get another turn within a cycle to have another proc that can go either faster or another whole one within a cycle. For that reason, it actually is her new best in slot to use. That's really the only 4-piece you do want to use on her now. If you want to use something else, it would be 2-piece speed sets. So 2-piece Hacker Space with 2-piece Relieved Ordeal, or 2-piece of one of those with 2-piece Warrior Goddess. Again, you're mainly stacking as much speed as possible running those 2-pieces. If you really want to focus on her personal damage, then you can still use Prisoner. 2-piece increases attack percent by 12%. 4-piece for every dot the enemy target is currently afflicted with. The wearer will ignore 6% of its defense when dealing damage to it, and the effect is valid for a max of 3 dots. 2-piece increases overall damage with attack percent, and the 4-piece will give you up to a 18% defense ignore for the dots. This is the best for her own personal damage. Again, I don't really recommend it because that is no longer her role. You're much better off running an Eagle set or a 2-piece speed set. But if you really want to focus on her for her damage especially, then this would be the set you use. For Planet Ornaments, the one you want to use now is the Lushaka set, which provides the wearer a 5% energy regen rate increase and also a 12% increase to attack for the character positioned first in the team lineup. This further amplifies her more supportive role because it does give her extra energy regen rate. With that, you can get your ultimate quicker, and just like I mentioned with the tutorial Lightcone, more ults would mean more procs. And now at the same time, you are buffing the character position first in the team lineup, so here you would always put Hycelines, if not Hycelines Black Swan, to make them do more damage because those are more of the damage dealers. Kafka is more of the procer / support, which is why Lushaka is our new best in slot ornament. Technically, you can also use Ageless for around the same effect, just not as good. This just makes her a bit more tanky with extra 12% max HP and reaching 120 speed or higher, which you'll have no problem with, giving everyone 8% attack. So if you're running a triple dot team, this benefits not only the character position first by giving them attack percent as well. It's less than Lushaka, not giving 12% for the first character, but rather 8% for everyone. This also helps Kafka herself a little bit, and again, makes her a bit more tanky if that is a problem. And again, if you do want to focus on her personal damage, which I no longer recommend, then you would use Revelry by the Sea, which will increase the wearer's attack by 12%. When the wearer's attack is higher than or equal to 2400 / 3600, increases dot damage dealt by 12% / 24% respectively. So 12% attack is going to increase her damage overall. Getting these stats, especially with her attack percent buff in her base kit with the effect hit rate, is not really a problem anymore, so you can get up to a 24% increase the dot damage out easily, so this will further amplify her dot damage buff more than anything else. So if you do want to run a set to mainly amplify her personal damage, you would use this set. When looking at what main sets you want to use, if you are not using an effect hit rate Lightcone, then you mainly will be using effect hit rate. You do want to aim for 75% effect hit rate, so Kafka herself can also still get her buff. If you are using an effect hit rate and you do get 75% effect hit rate without an effect hit rate body, then you can use attack percent. For the feat, you want to run speed. For the orb, you can use lightning damage or attack percent, just use whatever has better subsets with more speed and or effect hit rate. And for the link rope, you can use energy regen rate if you are running her as the procer / recommended playstyle, so in most cases energy regen rate would be the one you want to do. But if you don't want to focus on that and you want to focus more on her personal damage, then you can use attack percent. For the substats, first you want to prioritize effect hit rate, get it to 75% so she can get her own buff and also guarantee all her own dots do actually hit. And anything past that is going to be stacking as much speed as possible, getting it over hyperspeed and then going whatever you can past that. And also if you want, you can focus on attack percent. So it's mainly getting effect rate to 75% and then focus on getting speed to 160 or higher. And then you can focus on attack percent. Teams are very straightforward for Kafka nowadays. There's not really that many options to run. Usually the way you want to use her now is running Kafka, then the second character or the main DPS of the team would be Hycelines, but obviously she's not out as I'm uploading this video and I don't have her, so I can't put her here. So running a Hycelines team instead, I'll just use Luca as an example. Pretend Luca is Hycelines. You can do a triple dot setup where you run Kafka, Hycelines, and also Black Swan. That is very, very strong. And the last thought would be your sustain. The best sustain for dot to this day still does remain Fofo. But if you don't have her, just sub out for the next best option you can get. You can do a skill point generator, such as building a really fast Linksha. You can do a really fast Gallagher as well. You can also use a Venturin if you really want. Just whatever is your best sustainer option. Again, Popo is the best, but you can run Linksha, Gallagher, or even Luocha for a skill point generator. And if you have a Venturin and he's like your only free option, you can use him just to ensure they don't die. If you're doing Sustainless, the last slot would be a Harmony character that would be either Ruan, Mei, or Robin, so Sustainless team would look like this. If you're not doing triple dot, let's say you're just doing High Salience Kafka and no Black Swan, it would be a support, again, would be Ruan, Mei, or Robin, and then obviously this slot would go to a sustain. So, same sustains I mentioned, or you can do a double support where you run Ruan, Mei instead. This does also work, albeit a bit tough to run. That does wrap up the full updated BUFFED Kafka build guide. I do hope you guys found the video helpful. If you did, dropping a like would be greatly appreciated. If you're new to the channel or haven't done so already, be sure to subscribe and to the bell icon for future videos like this along with all other types of style content, and I'll see you later. Peace out.